The United States has been threatened time and time again. That is nothing new. But now Pentagon officials are telling us that the United States is next, that we need to be alert, we need to stay vigilant because we will be next. And it's not just the Pentagon. White House officials telling us the exact same thing. We have other officials from other countries that are saying that the United States has really stepped in it this time. And so now we will be next. Now, I know a lot of people are asking, well, who is going to attack the United States? Who would be dumb enough to attack the United States? Well, we can be very clear on this because they're already doing it, and it is Iran. Iranian-backed groups continue to attack U.S. troops and U.S. bases overseas. But what does the United States do? Well, we kind of sit around and wait. Look at this. It says, this is from the Wall Street Journal. This is actually from today. They're from yesterday. It says, Iran isn't impressed by U.S. airstrikes. Iran's militias try to kill Americans, and the U.S. targets ammo dumps. So this is what I've talked about over the past few days. This is what many people are wondering, what are we even doing? Because while the U.S. troops are being targeted, the United States and President Biden were kind of sitting on our hands, and we're targeting just facilities. We're not targeting people. Our troops are being targeted, but yet when we retaliate, we go after empty buildings with ammunition, right? That's really it. And so some are asking, what are we really doing? Well, here's where things are starting to take a major change. One of the biggest worries that we have right now in the United States is not that we are going to be personally targeted by, troops coming into our shores on U.S. soil. That's not something that we are really concerned with. Now, yes, the CIA director, or actually the FBI director, has stated just a week ago that there are terrorists here on U.S. soil. We don't know exactly where they're at, but they are continuing to be watched. With that said, he doesn't believe that we are going to be under attack in a normal sense. The attack that we will be under will be a cyber attack. Now, I bring this up because it's already happening. And it's not just happening here on U.S. soil, it's happening in other countries as well. This is why some are saying that we have to be prepared. And we need to make sure we have the system that can actually prevent a cyber attack. Now, let me just show you a few different examples. Okay, it says Australia locks down ports after nationally significant cyber attack. Okay, this is in Australia. Here's the one in the U.S. It says Tri-City Medical Center experiencing cyber attacks. This is happening all across the U.S. as well, and it's not just certain places. Look at this one. It says cyber attack takes out key travel information on the Washington State Transportation website and app. This is here in my home state, Washington State. And I can tell you this time and time again, we are going to see these attacks. And one of the concerns, and I just want you to be prepared because I know a lot of people are not, you need to be ready this winter. We're already seeing it starting to turn cold. Here in Washington State, we're in the low 40s. Okay? And so it's already starting to get a little bit colder. With that said, one of the main concerns we have here in the United States is our electrical grid. We've seen this happen in the past. We saw this last year. We saw it 2 years ago as well, where certain states and certain parts of the country got very cold. And our electrical grids couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle all the output. And so there were rolling blackouts. Well, that's where people are concerned, is if we saw rolling blackouts with our own issues, what happens if there's a cyber attack that actually stops power from going to certain parts of the country? Many people could die. And I bring this up because of what we're actually seeing over in other countries, specifically in Gaza. Okay? I want to show you this. It says Gazans turn on Hamas as food shortage fuels disorder. Well, I've said this before, that right now the United States is trying to pass a $14.3 billion bill that's pretty much stuck in the House and the Senate because we know we need to get more funding out there to Israel. We also need to get more humanitarian aid passed for the Palestinian people, right? People of Gaza. But I want to show you this as well. Okay? And the reason why I'm showing you this is because this is exactly what I'm talking about here in the United States. This says Gaza's main hospital goes dark in intense fighting as Israel's attack put it at odds with allies. Now, it's a lot of words. What does it really mean? Well, what's happening is these hospitals, because again, Israel is cutting off power, they're cutting off water, they're not getting that to Gaza because they want to try to get Hamas out of hiding. Well, here's the problem. It says right here, Israel's prime minister pushed back Saturday against calls from Western allies to do more to protect Palestinian civilians as troops encircled Gaza's largest hospital, where doctors said 5 patients died, including a premature baby, after the last generator ran out of fuel. The premature baby was in an incubator. When the generator ran out of fuel, guess what? The incubator stopped working. It says there is no electricity, medical devices stopped, patients, especially those in intensive care, started to die. This is the concern. And this is why I bring it up, because the United States is not far from this. Now, are people going to attack our hospitals? They could, right? Are they going to attack our electrical grid? That's more likely. Okay, our water supply, again, more likely. But I bring all this up because right now, what we're being told is Iran is threatening the United States because President Biden is sitting around waiting. He's waiting. Because right now, what's happening here in the United States is the United States and Congress has to pass a government funding bill. Without a government funding bill, a lot of our different programs are going to shut down anyway. So, we'll see what happens there. We do have some good news out of Gaza, though. According to Fox News, it says Israel's making serious progress against Hamas commanders. Now, what kind of progress are they making? Well, according to Fox News as well, they say Israel destroys Hamas tunnels and actually killed a weapons maker. So, according to many reports, this is good news. This could mean that the fight between Gaza or pretty much Hamas and Israel could be over much sooner. However, it is still lasting much longer than many people were anticipating. Now, here's what's going on within the United States. Right now, many phone calls are coming in to our lawmakers. Okay? It says, this is from the Huffington Post. It says, the phone doesn't stop. Overwhelming demands for a ceasefire catch Democrats off guard. One of the things that Democrats cannot afford is to see this war between Israel and Hamas drag on for another 3 to 6 months. The reason why it can't do that is for a couple reasons. Number one, that would take them into an election year. 6 months, that would push them way too close to the actual election, which is just a year away. The second reason, and in my mind even bigger, is the people in Gaza, the civilians that are still trying to get out. If this goes on for another 3 months, 6 months, that's going to mean there's going to be thousands and thousands more people, civilians, innocent people, that will lose their lives. And right now, Democrats are being told that they need to step up. They need to do more. Well, let's look at this. Okay, let's read a little bit of this from the Huffington Post. It says, Reps Cori Bush, who's a Democrat, and Rashida Tlaib, also a Democrat, hold a banner demanding a ceasefire and condemning the Israeli attacks on Gaza in front of the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. on November 8th. That was just 3 days ago. An end to the bloodshed in the Israeli-Hamas conflict seemed more remote than ever on Thursday when President Joe Biden answered a question about the chances of a ceasefire by saying, none. No possibility. There is no possibility of a ceasefire. President Biden backs that as well. He is standing in support of Israel. But as Biden refuses to use his leverage over the U.S.'s Israeli allies, voters, and constituents across the country are overwhelmingly members of his party with demands to stop the violence. That's what's happening. But again, we'll see. Because right now, Congress has a lot on its plate. Again, it doesn't mean that what's happening here or happening abroad is more important than the other, but for people in the United States, I've seen this. I've seen many different polls where the majority of the polls are asking Congress to fund priorities here within our border on U.S. soil before we start sending $14.3 billion to another country. And it's a country that is bombing bombing Hamas, bombing civilians. So again, we're going to see what happens, but here's what is happening right now. Okay? The reason why this funding to Israel is so important is because it's $14.3 billion. The $14.3 billion that Republicans say they are willing to give to Israel would come out of the IRS funding, which Democrats say we cannot pull $14.3 billion from IRS funding in order to send it to Israel because we need that $14.3 billion. They say let's just go and run a deeper deficit. Well, here's where things are starting to get real iffy. Right now it says we're ungovernable. House Republicans next votes on 2 funding bills, and these are their own funding bills, as shutdown deadline nears. House Republicans had 2 different bills. Both of these bills were bills that they put together, and they had to nix the voting because they would not have enough support. But this $14.3 billion, let's talk about that for a second. Why is it so important? Well, this is so important because this would help Israel potentially overtake Hamas. We do know that Hamas has money. According to some reports, the leaders of Hamas have about $11 billion in assets. But the reason why Congress feels that it's now or never regarding this funding for Israel is because of all the different talks that are going on around the world. Here in the U.S. as well, but now these talks are really starting to unfold and people are worried. They're worried, like, what are we doing? People all across the world continue to see on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram, right? Doesn't matter where it is, on YouTube, that all these different people are losing their lives because buildings are being hit, homes are being hit, hospitals are being hit. The Al-Shifa hospital just yesterday got hit with a missile. I showed you this. I played you a clip of a reporter doing a live report right in front of the hospital, and a missile hit right behind him. People went running into the building. He stood out there to try to finish his report, and another one hit. As soon as that one hit, he ran off. Okay? But this is turning into a massive, massive problem. And everyone's asking, well, what is the United States doing? What are other countries doing? Why are they not all in support of one specific group, right? One specific country? And why are we not getting Israel to agree to a ceasefire? Well, here's where things are at right now. If we provide Israel with $14.3 billion, Ukraine has been asking the United States for additional money as well. But they're not getting it. And now, according to the Pentagon, the defense aid packages for Ukraine continue to get smaller. They're getting smaller because the American people are tired of putting money up for another country. And the country is dragging on a war, potentially. Now, with that said, what could actually help this? Well, that's where we're a little bit kind of spinning our wheels. We just don't know. Here's something that we do know, though. And this is turning into a massive problem because as Iran continues to threaten the United States and President Biden waits for who knows what, the worry from the United States Navy, from the Marines, from the Army, is that if we were to go to war, we do not have the numbers that we used to get. Just so you know, I want to read you this as well. This is actually coming from Newsweek. It says Americans don't want to fight for their country anymore. This came out yesterday. And why don't we want to fight for our country? Well, for one reason, and this was said by many people, is we are being told we're fighting for a specific cause, but then when we get in, it turns into another issue. And we saw this in Afghanistan as well. Look at this. Look at these numbers. It says in 2023, the Army and Air Force fell short of their respective goals by around 10,000 recruits, while the Navy was under by 6,000. It says since 1987, the number of active duty personnel has fallen by 39%. So as we are starting to see more and more reports of additional conflicts around the world, and potentially World War III, the United States might not have the personnel it needs to go and battle other countries. We may have all the funding, we may have all the equipment, but do we have the personnel? That's where they're a little concerned. So, this is why I bring this to your attention, because everyone says the U.S. is next. And if we are next, we need to be prepared. So, as we get more information, I promise I'll come back on. I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.